like to welcome everybody now back to our second in a line of interviews and conversation about our Vietnam Memorial here in Hubbardston. We want to talk a little bit about our primary goals to begin with. We want to know and recognize all of the people in this town who have been in the Vietnam War or during that period from 1955 to 75. That doesn't mean we only want people who were stationed in country, whether you were there or not. You were doing things that supported the people that were there. We want to make sure that we don't leave anybody out. We're going to be putting up this memorial, and we don't want it, after it's all done, to find out that we missed somebody. And it's an important thing. An important one to me. My best friend at the Naval Academy was shot down over Laos, and he was a young married man. He had a baby son and a wife. The Congress decided that because it was shot down by a MiG that belonged to a different country, that it was not a Vietnam thing. It took us a long time. If you go to that black edifice in Washington, D.C., and go all the way to your right where this newer panel is, you'll find that Lieutenant J.G. name in that, and it's there now. We don't want to do that. We want to make sure we get everybody. And I know, Bill, you've mentioned a couple of times that there are going to be people who are eligible to have their name on here who may or may not want their name on that, and that's fine. We just don't want to find someone who wants their name on it to not be included in this. We've spent a lot of time, our committee has spent a lot of time in making sure that we cover every base we can. Our goal there is to identify and certify, and by certification, what we mean is we need to see a DD-214, but there are other ways to certify as well. If you've got records, your records from the military when you got out, and there are awards on there and dates, that will work.
Tom, well put. We want to cover all the bases, and utilizing sources such as this cable TV program is one way of getting the word out there. Word of mouth is going to be an asset, and we are taking many active steps in order to accomplish the goal that Tom is talking about, and that includes a well put together Facebook page that we have up. We already have over 400 likes on that page, which is a really good start. We know that people are now taking a look at that, and that contains all of the details, the who, what, when, where, how, and why that we're looking to accomplish by making this effort. We also have an Instagram account because we talked about the fact that the population that we're going to reach and the ones that are going to be on the monument are indeed in their 60s, 70s, or 80s. But we want to make sure that perhaps a child or a grandson or a grandchild who gets the Instagram and says, oh, Grandpa was in there, let's make sure that he's included. We want to use whatever social media we can put to work for us to accomplish that objective. In addition to that, we have accumulated lists. We have a list that was submitted by one of our committee members, Steve Meager, who grew up in town, enlisted from Hubbardston, and served in Vietnam. And he presented us with sort of an informal list of friends and people that he knew from town. And I think there were 35 or 36 names on that. And then we have Jane McCauley, who's been in town for a long time, who sent me a list that she had received from Michael Richard. Michael Richard grew up in town, a teacher at Quabbin, works for the Gardner News, a really qualified local historian. And his list had 46 names on it, and she sent that to me. And I compared the two, and guess what? There were some different names that were on one and not the other. So we know that we have a goal in mind, and we have a challenge to be able to outreach. In addition to that, Sarah Wyman, our Veteran Service Officer, is privy to a roster. And she's taken classes for that. She has a certification for it. And she's put a lot of time and effort into looking at that list. And she came up with about 85 or 86 names that she was pretty sure were going to fall into that category. In addition to that, the town has been extremely helpful and provided us with census information. We're going to take that census information and all the other lists that we have, and we're going to do a mailing. And that mailing is going to reach out to all the people from a demographic standpoint who have identified themselves as being a veteran. And so we're reaching out to people who were born in the 30s, the 40s, the 50s to be sure we cover all the bases. And I think we have in excess of 200 that we're going to be doing that mailing to. The mailing is going to help with identification, and it's going to help with certification. And the mailing is going to have a basic letter talking about our goals and objectives, and it's going to have a questionnaire. And the questionnaire is going to be something a person can choose to fill out or not fill out. We want to leave that in the prerogative of the people that receive it. And that questionnaire is going to ask them if they fall into the category, if they have that copy of the DD-214, which is your basic discharge, or anything else, as Tom has said, that would help identify them and certify them. Sarah Wyman is our clearinghouse. We have a long way to go, and so we're counting on one of the things that I mentioned, that's word of mouth, to get it out there, to be sure that if you have a relative or you yourself feel that you're qualified, get in touch with Sarah. According to the official regulation, as Tom has said, and the definition is of an American Vietnam War veteran, describes those who served on active duty in the United States Armed Forces at any time during the period November 1st, 1955 to May 15th, 1975, regardless of duty station.
I did not go in the service from here. I was not here. I didn't live here when I was in Vietnam, but I live here now. And it is appropriate for me to be on that monument. And so if you're a Vietnam veteran and you fall into any of these categories, but you moved here, or if you hear about it and you moved away from here, you need to let us know, because you need to be on that. You need to be on this thing.
We're making every effort, like I said, to be sure that we're all inclusive. Now, we have goals and we have deadlines. So we're looking to get that information back no later than the end of July, because we have a lot to do with the design and so on and so forth. And then Tom is going to talk about the dates as it pertains to our goals to accomplish what we set out to accomplish. So, Tom, what are our dates that we have in mind that our committee has established?
First off, what we know is that, or I think we have a pretty good feel for what it's going to cost us to do this. And we're looking at somewhere around $30,000. We need to, our goal is to have that money in hand, or at least identified, by November the 11th of this year, which is Veterans Day. Beyond that, we want to be standing on May the 31st of 2022 on the Common with our memorial to be dedicated. That is I got a chill right now, because that is a pretty danged, we're really into it. And the good thing is we started out with 5 members, and we've got people dropping in out of the sky who, they don't care whether they're a member of of this committee or not. They want to help, and I think with what we see in this town, we probably are not going to have a problem doing that, but we have to have people willing to make donations, because we are not going to use a single dollar of town budget. So you want to add a little bit more on how we're going to raise funds?
Absolutely. One of my favorite things is raising money. So literally we have a real goal in mind, a challenge in mind, because that money doesn't just appear out of thin air, and it's like everybody's always asking for money. And so on our Facebook account, we have ways that people can make a donation. When we had our very first get-together, and we talked about a proposal we had submitted to the state, we talked about a GoFundMe, right? Well, those have all gone away. We didn't get that. We didn't get the grant from the state, and we can't do a GoFundMe. So it has to be sort of a manual push towards raising this money. We will provide you with the information to send donations, and that literally is, the check is to be made out to the town of Hubbardston. It's to be sent to 7 Main Street, Unit 10, Hubbardston, Mass. 01452. Put a little memo on the check saying it's for Vietnam Veterans Memorial, and you might want to address it to Attention Vietnam Veterans Memorial. And we will be accumulating those funds. We'll be telling you about that and how we're doing, because I think that's necessary. We're not going to keep that secret, and as we go forward, we want to continue to provide incentives to our public to make those donations. In addition to that, we are going to be visible and present at the upcoming events that the town holds through Hubbardston Celebration and the Lions Club. And we also will have a few incentives there, one of which is a wristband that both Tom and I have on. And the wristbands are going to be offered. They're going to come in a plastic so that you know that they have been untouched. And I believe that they are appropriate, and yet they're subtle. It isn't anything that someone from 10 feet is going to be able to say, oh, that says blah, blah, blah. I want them, and our goal is to have a person say, oh, what's that? And then when they read it, it says, I gave. And then it says Vietnam Veterans Memorial. And we're asking for a donation of $5 or more for the wristband. Sarah Wyman, on her own accord and with her own dime, is putting together decals or stickers, and those are going to have some veteran-related slogans on them, and some that aren't veteran-related, that just say Hubbardston, Mass. But those are also going to be available for a donation of $5 or more. Remember, every cent, there's no administrative costs here. Every cent is going to go to our goal, which is to raise that money. And Thomas said that with everything we have going for it, it should not be too hard, but you never know.
And, you surely don't.
I'd love to get beyond that, because in my mind and in the minds of the committee, we're going to have a very beautiful monument. But if we happen to have extra money, we can do a few extra things about it. And some of this is in preliminary stages, and others have started down the highway. But in the course of you sharing this time with us, we're going to be showing you more in the upcoming weeks and months as it pertains to our progress, because we want you to share in this progress. We want you to take pride in the fact that this is dedicated to acknowledge and honor our veteran population. And as I've said before, Hubbardston has always been a very patriotic time. They have always answered the call. And folks, it's almost 50 years since the end of Vietnam.
Right.
And as I've studied each of the monuments that's been put up on the Hubbardston Common or in front of the Hubbardston Center School, It's never taken this long to put up a monument. And so I won't say time is running out, but it becomes more and more important as our veterans are aging that we take the time to show them that they'll be immortalized, that they're always going to be recognized. Tom has done the Memorial Day service on a number of occasions, and it's a time when the people of Hubbardston come together to acknowledge the Memorial Day meaning, which is the sacrifice, the ultimate sacrifice made by veterans throughout all the wars. And it's always a very meaningful ceremony. And how great it will be to add to that parade, to add to the services, to have the people of Hubbardston see that memorial done and dedicated on that day. That's what we're going to do.
Amen. Well, I can't add anything to that. Way to go. So how about design?
Okay, that's a very good point. When I approached the town, who has been incredibly supportive, they have never said no. They have allowed us to initiate this committee. They have allowed us to put up the temporary sign, which you've all seen with a previous video, and that ceremony took place just before Memorial Day. Once again, our Veteran Service Officer, Sarah Wyman, put in the money and made that sign. And I want you, when you drive through town, to just slow down a little bit, not just because the school is there, but to take a look at that sign, because it's well done. And I can tell you already that people have seen it. The FedEx guy stopped by the other day. He comes here virtually every day. And he said to me, I saw you downtown and you were in front of that sign, because I was clipping the grass, because I'm not going to allow the grass to grow. It's not going to grow under our feet. So that sign is going to be taken care of for the time being until we're able to put the official sign in. So we want to stay in continuity with what's already there. So the two monuments that represent our patriotism in Hubbardston for the Spanish-American War and World War I, that's one monument. And our second monument that's in line with the one I've just described is our World War II memorial. And those are approximately 9 feet long and approximately 5 feet high. And so ours will be essentially that size. So bear that in mind. And it's going to be physically located, you'll see that when you drive by, physically located in between the three monuments that we have there, but essentially equidistant from our Civil War memorial and the Span Am World War I memorial. And as Thomas said, we wanted to reflect what our nation has put up for our monument in Washington, D.C., so we want it to be in black marble. And the things that our committee has talked about is the importance of the names. I don't want to leave space on one side that we have to fill in later on. So that's why we're so being so aggressive and assertive, because as we know, that generally is what happens. After the fact, you find out and the names are added. We'll do that, but we're hoping that we don't have to. And we want to include what didn't happen to our Vietnam veteran population. Welcome home. And if we have the funding, we also want to put a silhouette of the three soldiers, like the statue that's literally in Washington, D.C., and that we had in front of our temporary sign, and you've seen that. And then I think that all gave some gave all. I think that's also appropriate because it's all encompassing to what our veterans did. And I also like the idea of using both sides so that a person standing in front of it could understand and appreciate, and then people that are on the other side will see, like for example, the silhouette of the soldiers. We originally thought it's going to be 80 or 90 names, but if we do our job and get it out to all the people, and we find out we have more than that, all well and good. Nothing wrong with that. And so with that in mind, and one of the things we have discovered, okay, this doesn't appear overnight, you know, each of the sources that we've contacted, 2 of them have said, we want 50% of the money up front, and we need a 4 to 5 month lead time. So we're now, I kind of like to use the word, we have date lines, because I don't want to use the word deadline. But you know what? We have our work cut out, and if we're going to get that put together, we need your help. So along the way, you're going to be hearing more from us and more details, and we certainly are interested in any questions that you have. General questions, contact me, Bill Shea, 978-928-4440. I'm available anytime. This is a high priority for our committee, and so there's no question that I won't attempt to answer. And when questions regarding identification, certification, that's going to be Sarah, and you'll have the information for Sarah. But combined, we have volunteers that are offering to help, and we're going to get it done. Thanks very much, Tom. Appreciate you.
Glad to be here, and let's do it. Let's get it done.
Let's get it done. You bet.